Hey there, it's Sheena. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me before I get started. All right, can everyone hear me? Hi, Misty. Can you hear me? Just write in the comment if you can hear me or if I'm moving my lips and you can't hear anything. Let's see here. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. I got a go that I am being heard. Um, Welcome everyone to this mini training. It's only going to be about 10 to 15 minutes, but I did want to share how you can find 5 hours in your week to follow your dreams. I know it seems really impossible sometimes, especially as a mom, running around, having so many obligations with work, family, trying to sleep. It's really, really hard to find it, but you absolutely can. There are 5 hours hidden in your every day or every week. At least an hour every day is hidden somewhere in there, and you can definitely make this work. So, just to get started, for anyone that's just joining, welcome. My name is Sheena, and I'm the founder of Working Moms Co. I also happen to be a chief learning officer for a travel trade online academy. So I basically have three full-time jobs somehow, which is really amazing and fun. And I love connecting with women and I love sharing information. So let's get started. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to jot them down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them as I go along. There were also two questions that were asked before, which I'll definitely address too. So the first thing that to do when you want to find more time to dedicate to your dreams is to actually complete a self-evaluation. Take a look at where you're spending most of your time. That's the first place to start. And I would suggest getting really, really honest with yourself about where your time is being spent. So if you think about it, we all have 168 hours in a week. Oprah has the same amount of time as us. Beyonce, Rachel Hollis, everybody has the same amount of time. And what you want to do in the self-evaluation is consider where you're actually spending it, and that's where you're going to want to get really honest with yourself. Are you spending a lot of time scrolling through Instagram, like sometimes I do? Are you heavy in the Facebook groups or on Facebook? Are you watching a ton of TV? These are all things that happen outside of what your commitments are. So break it down a little bit into work and commute time, which is generally about 60 hours. And then you should have at least 8 hours of sleep. So that's another 56 hours, leaving you with 52 hours in your week to do something. Then you also want to consider family commitments, which I've averaged out to be about 25 hours a week, give or take a couple hours, depending on how active your family is or what you have going on. So we're left with 27 hours to do something with. Now, I know in the day to day that seems crazy, like who has 27 hours to dedicate to anything, but it's there. And this is where you're going to want to get really honest with yourself. What are you actually doing during those 27 hours? So consider what you're doing. So are you, like I said, are you scrolling through Instagram? Are you watching TV? Are you just sitting around? Are you reading? Are you engaging? Are you making new connections? What are you actually doing? And then also, what time are you committing specifically to following your dreams? Now, if you don't know what your dreams are yet, let's connect and we can work on that. But if you do know what your dreams are, how much time are you actually committing every week right now to following them? And then the last thing I want you to consider is how much time you're actually spending for yourself. So how much self-care are you putting in every week? If you can't find any time for self-care, it'll be really hard to find time for following your dreams as well. So the things that you want to keep track of are what are your work and commute commitments? How many hours are you spending at work and or getting to and from work? How many hours are you actually spending sleeping? How many family commitment hours do you have per week? How active is your family? And other dream following and self-care. Consider all of those and write them down. The next step is after you've done that and you've been really, really honest with yourself, after you've done a self-evaluation, you're going to want to prioritize your time. Now, there are the non-negotiables, which are the family commitments, which are the work things, which are sleeping. Sleeping is definitely a non-negotiable that you're not going to want to consider in this. Instead, you're going to want to consider the things that fall under other or dream following. And what you can do is you can prioritize your time based on the things that actually move the needle for your dreams or following your dreams, and the things that don't. So you can create a little chart which has moving the needle or not, and what's motivating to you versus what moves the needle or not and is not motivating to you. So what you want to do after you are really honest with yourself is then prioritize your time to focus on the things that make you happy and the things that will fulfill your dreams. And then the second part of that is you can also create things that are urgent to do. So let's say, for instance, your dream is to create a community of amazing women where they all support each other and love to help each other. Happens to be part of my dream. I would go and I have gone and identified the things that will move the needle into creating that environment, which is something like this Facebook group. And it's also really motivating for me to connect other women. So that would be on my move the needle and motivating section. And then the things that are urgent to do that, it would be like literally creating the group. So that way I can connect more women together. I can share the knowledge that I have, and I can really create that community that I'm looking forward to doing. Now, something that wouldn't be motivating to me and not necessarily move the needle would be to like figure out how to finance an event right now. Like, to me, that's not what I'm looking to do right now. While it's a great thing, and in the future, as this community grows, it might be something I'll consider, it's not moving the needle for me right now. And then that would also fall in non-urgent and not important right now. So you want to really dig down into the things that will change the game for you personally in following your own dreams. And then once you get through that piece, it's time to reschedule your date. This is where you're actually going to find the hours, those elusive, crazy, like non-existent hours, to dedicate more intentionally to your dreams. And something that I always suggest that women do is figure out where their energy is the most. So for me, my energy is in the morning, and I do my best work first thing in the morning. I am almost completely useless after my son Sebastian goes to bed. I just am completely depleted of energy. That's my zone out time. And I know that because I've thought about it and I've committed to figuring it out and making connections with my energy levels. And I suggest you do the same. If you are a morning person like me, I would suggest that you do the thing that will bring you the most energy. Do the thing that matters the most to you first. So for me, that means most of the time I wake up about 15 minutes before my family, and then I dedicate my time to following my dreams, whether that's, adding a few people to the group, or, thinking of what I'm going to speak about today, or connecting greater with my audience. I also use that as a self-care time, which is just as important as following your dreams. So sometimes that means I'll read a little bit from a book that I'm into, or I'll meditate if that's what you're into. You could do that too, or even just write down my intentions for the day, because I get so much energy from the morning. And then from there, you can also, if you get more energy from night, focus on following your dreams, or finding or using those hours that exist later in the day if that works for you. But I promise you there is enough time to follow your dreams, even if you start with 5 minutes every day and you focus 5 minutes on doing something that's good for you and helps you get closer to your goal. And then the fourth step that I have in finding and using the 5 extra hours you have in your week to follow your dreams is to get accountable. Now, accountability can be really scary, because if you are already fearful of failure, which we'll talk a lot more about tomorrow, but if you're already afraid of failing, this will be pretty difficult at first, because it's forcing you to do stuff that's out of your comfort zone. Now, you can get accountable in a number of ways. You can go to your friends or family. You can join a group like this and find an accountability buddy. You can hire a coach. You can use and connect with your significant other in a way that forces you to be accountable. Share what you're doing, share what your dream is, and ask them to keep you there. When you do this, though, you have to be mindful of actually following through. Their job is to keep you on track with what you want. And so you have to be mindful of that and communicate when it seems like stressful to do that, or you get upset about it, because I've been there before and I've asked for accountability and, making great decisions for food or time-wise, spending more time with my family. And when I personally have felt like I couldn't do it anymore, I got a little defensive. So be mindful of asking for accountability, but do it anyways, because it will absolutely help you. And then the last step that I have, it's an extra step that I thought of, was give yourself the time to actually do this. When I first started mapping out how I was going to create more time to follow my dreams, I started really small with 5 minutes. And actually, I was talking to a friend at lunch about this too, where if you spend even 5 minutes a day to start on thinking or writing or intentionally focusing on achieving your dream, that will build the habit that you need to actually do it. I also know that it does take time to build this new habit. And a lot of times what we do when we are kind of fearful of failure is we'll start building a habit and then immediately stop. And when we stop, we get more discouraged and end up in the same spot. So we'll dig a lot more into this tomorrow, but I did want to show you what I drew here, if you could see it. This is a breakdown of where you can find your 5 hours specifically. So this works for 5 days a week. We all have 7 days, so you can make it work for you. But here's a couple things you can do. You can wake up 15 minutes earlier 5 times a day. You can take 15 minutes out of your lunch break or the time that you are scrolling through Instagram or that lag time that you have in your day. 15 minutes 5 times a day for this too. And then if you watch 30 minutes less TV. Now, if you don't watch TV and you do like scroll like crazy or on the internet all the time, use this time to focus on your dream. So let's say 15 minutes earlier, as I mentioned, 15 minutes at your lunch, and then 30 minutes less TV or aimlessly scrolling gives you the 5 hours that you need to follow your dreams. And yeah, I have a couple minutes left if anybody has any questions. To actually answer the 2 questions that I got, one of the questions was, is 5 hours enough time? Now, I'm going to say it depends on how much time you have to give to your dreams. Now, of course, 5 hours is, as we can see, a great amount of time. We all have it there, but I don't want anybody to put the pressure on focusing so heavily on something that's new and when we're building that habit that they don't actually do it. So I would say to start, 5 hours is more than enough time to start looking at how you can actually achieve your dream and start changing how you approach the things that you do every day. The other question was, where did it go? The other question is what tools do you have to do this? And there are a number of ways that you can implement all of these. I think the biggest thing is prioritizing your time and figuring out where you're spending all of your time, and then prioritizing it in a way that will allow you to actually do things more intentionally. So that may be like writing everything that you do in a day down for 5 days, and then reevaluating like where your energy is so you can focus more intentionally when you have a lot of energy on following your dreams. But yeah, it's really just all about figuring out what you're doing and then how to work in time for you as well. So I'll just leave it up for a second. If anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them. And if this is something that you really want to do and need help with, but aren't sure how to go about it, or feel like you've done it a bunch of times and it never works out, send me a DM. Let's get on a call. I'd be happy to work through this and strategize with you with what will work best for you. And thank you everyone who's joined. It's been so great to have you. And yeah, if you have any questions along the way, just feel free to send me a message, write comments, let me know what you thought of this, and I will see everybody tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Have a great night.